This is Matthew Godinius, and I'm running a Paperless Classroom in addition to making some of these videos to try to help other teachers integrate technology and objectively review technology to make sure they use the tools that are best for them. And some of you may be aware that my Paperless Classroom was recently featured in the newest issue of Time magazine. It looks like this. It's the October 20th, 2014 edition, and right in the centerfold, there we are. And I really like that the photographer put my students up front and center in this and the technology they're using, because that's what it's really all about. It's about the students. I'm there in the background monitoring, helping, guiding, but it's really all about the education and the kids. So I just wanted to respond to this article a little bit because I think it's a great piece, and I'm really glad and really feel privileged that Michael Scherer, the Washington, D.C. bureau chief for Time magazine, took the time to fly out and visit our classroom and actually spent a couple of days here in Calistoga and attended our back to school night. And he told me beforehand, we had been having discussions online in Twitter and through various communication media about the goal of his article. He wanted to do a piece kind of showcasing that this is happening, technology is being integrated, and there is some controversy, there is a conversation going on. There is a debate going on that it's not cut and dry necessarily. Not everybody agrees, and that's a good thing. Discourse is important. Critical analysis is important. Whenever we do anything new, or if we choose to keep doing something the old way when there's other ways available, we need to always be asking ourselves why. What is the benefit? What is the justification for these decisions? Michael Scherer, first of all, is a total professional. I just wanted to thank him for the great job that he did. He made it clear up front what the story was going to be, and he stayed true to that story with while being very tactful and having a great editing eye for the details that would help tell that story of some of the success and the passion and the enthusiasm that I'm experiencing with technology and with paperless in my classroom, and also some of the counterpoints and the other perspectives and viewpoints, because every story is going to have more than one side. So this article does a good job of showing that. It starts off by sort of giving an overview of what my class is like, and then talking about overcoming the glitches, and he talks about some of the drawbacks and challenges, and that's all very true. So for the most part, this is spot on, and I think he's just a pro for sure. One part I did want to point out is that, because it doesn't really represent me or what we do in the classroom, it doesn't really represent paperless per se, 100%. And I know why he put this in there, because it helped tell the story. I said, we don't care about handwriting. And in a flash, a mother objected, yeah, we do. And that actually did happen. But the key here is, I was saying we don't care about handwriting in a sarcastic way, because I knew that parents and people do care about handwriting. And as a matter of fact, I think handwriting can provide some benefits in the classroom. That's why I brought it up. It actually went along with one of the slides I'll show you here about why I chose the devices I did in the classroom. And now the devices we're using they're called the Lenovo Thinkpad Tablet 2. They're currently about $300. They were about $550 a piece when we got them, plus the cost of the keyboard. So they weren't super cheap, but they also weren't super expensive. They had all-day battery life. But one of the big key features of why I chose this device for my classroom over iPads, laptops, netbooks, Chromebooks, or anything else is because they allow handwriting. What's interesting to me is, and kind of hypocritical, is a lot of the people that are supposedly proponents of handwriting, and they say, oh, we need handwriting, then they insist on using devices that don't let you handwrite in the device. So it seems kind of weird to me that you'd say, oh, handwriting's important, but I'm going to get a computer device that doesn't allow me to handwrite in it very well. And these are not new. I mean, there's been, I have a Toshiba Portage tablet, which I was piloting in a classroom 10 years ago, a decade ago, in 2004 is when it came out. And you use this kind of pen, and you could write and draw on the screen just like you're writing on a piece of paper. Bill Gates was talking about how great they were, and nobody seemed to be listening. They didn't seem to be catching on.
That's what leads to the right balance.
What does that device look like in 5 years? What would be your principal device? Is there one, or?
Is it a, I think you use, I could be wrong, I think you carry a tablet.
Right.
Right. Which has not necessarily stormed the world yet.
So I wanted to point out that I think people are unaware. They think that, oh, well, you can use a computer, and they think a keyboard or a mouse, or they say you can use a tablet, and they think a finger. They don't realize that technology has been out that actually allows you to write just like you would on a piece of paper. And this is why we can go paperless. This is why I specifically chose that kind of device. It's not a either or. You can have both in the same machine. You can have a machine that functions as a computer and functions as a tablet and lets you write and draw by hand very naturally. And there's not very many of them. I'm going to admit that, so people aren't really aware. I do think there's a time and a place for handwriting. And specifically, I think it's super useful, not just for like artwork and doing animation, some of the creative tasks, but also for math. I think math is one area that's very difficult to input your ideas and organize your thoughts and do the kind of complex and abstract reasoning that you need to do if you just use an average computer or even a tablet. Being able to precisely handwrite things on the screen is very useful. You might notice me waving this thing around like it's a magic wand. This is our magic wand that we use in the classroom. This is a stylus, but it's a special kind of stylus. You'll notice it has a really fine point, like a ballpoint pen up there. And it's basically the same size and shape as a ballpoint pen. So it feels very natural in your hand. You can write and draw on the screen with this just like you would on a piece of paper. It even has like a little eraser on the back that you can push in and erase things. So let me demonstrate. I think people don't realize that the technology now exists that you can get the same benefits that you would get from handwriting. And yes, there are articles and scholarly research that shows certain types of benefits for handwritten notes versus typed ones, for example. One just came out recently about that. I'll talk more about this later in other videos, but the key thing to note with that one is that the handwriting is actually a lot slower. Even cursive handwriting is not nearly as fast as typing, and that was what was causing the problem for taking notes with typing. We need to teach our kids how to take notes properly is the moral of the story here. It's not that handwriting is better than a keyboard, and I don't think that handwriting on a piece of paper conveys benefits better than handwriting on a different surface, like a screen. I mean, if you think about it, what would cause that? Is wood pulp that's chemically processed, is that going to magically give you some sort of knowledge that a different surface that you write on wouldn't give you? Doesn't make sense. So here you see, I keep holding up my phone. This is a Samsung Galaxy Note 2. And I bought this for the same reason, because I do use handwriting and hand-drawn sketches and diagrams and ways to organize my thoughts very frequently. This one, for example, I've been using it to keep track of everything I need to do with renovating my basement. So I've been drawing diagrams, I've been putting the dimensions on there, finding surface areas, more so finding measurements for studs, for ceiling panels, things like that. So I've got page after page here of calculations, which then turn into shopping lists, which I then take to the lumberyard and buy this stuff. And I just pull it out and say, this is what I need. And we get it cut to the size. This is the same kind of thing we would do with a pad of paper. This is basically a pad of paper here. And this S-Note app, where you can just pull out a pen right out of the bottom. And so it's very handy. People argue that, oh, why not just use paper? It's so convenient. Number one, it's not convenient for trees when the average school goes through about 1 million sheets of paper a year. And number two, it's not even very convenient in general when you can have a device that lets you get the same benefits and it's always on you. When I had small pieces of paper in my pocket or a notepad, I might leave it somewhere. I might not know what to do with the notes after I've taken them. You know, it's hard to file and organize those things. You need storage space for all those papers. You need to know how to find it again. Those things can be really streamlined while still giving you the same benefits of writing and drawing through technology. I didn't always have a pen on me. This way, I always have a pen on me. So this is the type of thing where I just want people to keep an open mind about the way things are changing. We don't have to give up old ways that worked when we adopt new ways that work even better. Throughout history, schools have used whatever the best tools available were at that time, starting with the very first schools at the dawn of written, recorded civilization thousands of years ago, about 3,500 BC or 3,000 BC. So about 5,000 years ago, we started having schools, and those schools were paperless. They were using clay tablets to write cuneiform and record and communicate information, because that's the goal. The goal is learning and communication. The goal is not using a specific type of medium. They had mud available and clay, so they used that. I have computers available, so I'm using that. Our kids are not going to graduate from school into the paper age. They're going to graduate from school into the information age, the digital age, which has been here starting in about the 1980s. So about 30 years now, we have been in the information age. Before that, we had the space age and the atomic age. We didn't really have the paper age since the Industrial Revolution. The paper factories were started up in about 1798. So early 1800s, we started using paper. We also used horse-drawn carriages. Do we still use those to get around? The point is, we move forward with technology, even though there may be new problems that come with it. Cars created problems, but we used them, okay, because they also solved a lot of problems. Since the dawn of time, schools have used the best technology available for learning, and we need to do the same thing. Over the course of 5,000 years, only 200 of those years were paper schools. 96% of recorded human history was paperless schools. Paper had a good run. It was the best technology we had available for the time. But that time is over. We now have technology that gives us all the same benefits of paper and a whole lot more. So I would advocate that the paperless classroom is here. It is coming to a school near you. We should be questioning how we do it. We should be questioning the types of devices we use. We should be debating the best ways to use these tools. But these are the best tools for learning. And they're the tools that students are going to use when they leave our classrooms. So there's not really much room for debate there. Computers are not going away. They're not leaving the business place. So it's not about should we use this technology, it's about how. I'd love to have more discussions with you, with the public about this. And in fact, I'm going to be making some videos specifically about handwriting, about cursive, about why reality is better than virtual. And what I mean by that is there's no replacement for the real thing. So I want to talk about that a little bit too. You can't do everything on a computer, just like you can't do everything on a piece of paper in the traditional classroom. So that really hasn't changed. We still have a need for labs and experiments and hands-on activities and building 3D things. So if you'd like to be part of this conversation, and if you'd like to give feedback or get feedback from me, go ahead and subscribe to my channel, and you'll see some upcoming videos I'm doing about handwriting, about reality versus virtual reality, and about flipping the flipped classroom.